Isaiah 55. O everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that hath no money, come ye, buy and eat. Yea, come, buy wine and milk without money, and without price. Wherefore do ye spend the money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfieth not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear, and come unto me, hear, and your soul shall live. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. Behold, I have given him for a witness to the people, a leader and commander to the people. Behold, thou shalt call a nation that thou knowest not, and nations that knew not thee shall run unto thee because of the Lord thy God, and for the Holy One of Israel, for he hath glorified thee. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found, call ye upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. For ye shall go out with joy, and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills shall break forth before you into singing, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Instead of the thorn shall come up the fir tree, and instead of the briar shall come up the myrtle tree. And it shall be to the Lord for a name, for an everlasting sign that shall not be cut off.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahawah, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing, salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahawah Bashem Yahushua, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahawah Bashem Yahushua. All right, so what I want to do is go into a lesson tonight. I got this documentary, pretty informative. It's from the same channel as we did the last video, Wine, Dark Sea. It's a pretty good channel, you know what I'm saying? And the video, all right, is being used, fair use. All right, I'm not making any monetary gains off the video, just for educational purposes only. So I want to get into that tonight, and I want to start off here, because just the history leading into the time of Yahawashi, okay, which is a lot of heavy history going on at the same time, as you have people, that are questioning, you know, the validity of Yahawashi. Was that a real person? Did he really exist? But he existed around a time of a lot of heavy, geopolitical, transfer kingdoms and, particular, men, okay, that are reverenced heavily in this society. And Yahawashi was in the midst of that, you know. And when you go back to Genesis 49 and 10, just to read, it said the scepter, all right, Genesis 49 and 10, the scepter shall not depart, all right, from Judah, okay, which Judah, okay, is the head tribe, all right, and out of the tribe of Judah, you get Yahawashi, okay, who was from the lineage of who? King David, okay, and that throne of David, okay, will go to Yahawashi ultimately, all right, everlasting, you see. And we gonna go into the build up, to the birth of Yahawashi, the first coming. But now we await the second coming of Yahawashi when he will establish their throne forever in the earth. Okay, it says, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Okay, unto him shall the gathering of the people be. All right, so when he came the first time, there was a gathering. Okay, but it wasn't the fulfillment, you see, of what's being gathered under Yahawashi. You had the Israelite foreigners came in through faith. All right. Those are the circumcision that believe. Okay. They was gathered, by the gospel, the preaching of the word, but it wasn't the fulfillment, okay, of that ultimate gathering, which is in this time when we will be gathered by the word, which Yahawashi comes in the volume of the book. Okay. The Bible, all right, is an extension, of Yahawashi in the earth. Okay. So now the spirit of Yahawashi is doing the gathering. And there's going to be a physical gathering the second time. Okay. But it was always promised to King David that he will have someone from between his loins, all right, his lineage, to sit the throne. And Yahawashi fulfills that, you know, and he will have to come and be a sacrifice first. And he was a sacrifice in pagan Rome, but he's coming to conquer, all right, new Rome. Okay. So let's get into the history, and we're gonna go through a few things, and this pretty starts off in the Hasmonean dynasty. Now the Hasmonean dynasty, all right, just so we can get familiar with it. They're gonna go through some of these things. But the Hasmonean dynasty is a dynasty that started hold on. I got it better. When you read the book of Maccabees, all right, and one of the sons of Mattathias, I believe that the youngest Simon, okay, his lineage, okay, went on to begin the dynasty. Now, when we read about Judas Maccabees, all right, Maccabees was a nickname pretty much, which means the hammer, okay, because of his military might, all right, and genius, okay, with the aid of YAHAWASHI. He had the reputation as the hammer, okay, because how he was handling, those Greeks in warfare, okay. Now, should be able to see. Let me know if y'all can see. Let me blow it up a little bit. Okay. All right. So let me know if y'all can see it or not. But where we at? Okay. So here you got Mattathias. All right, and this is who we read about in the book of First Maccabees, the second chapter. Okay, he was the one that initiated the revolt. Okay, that we know is the Maccabean revolt. All right, when he, refused to sacrifice, okay, swine on the altar. All right, then you had this simple Jake come by and offer swine, and Mattathias put him to death, and the representative sent by the Greeks. Okay, and that started the revolt. And when he left, he put Judas Maccabeus in charge. Okay, as he know he was getting ready to die, and Judas Maccabeus, okay, was the pretty much the general, okay, of the militaries, of Judea at the time. Okay, and we know that through miracles, all right, through faith, that the Lord gave them many battles. All right, eventually Judas Maccabeus would die, okay, in battle, and then his brother Jonathan became the leader. Okay, he became the leader, for 8 years, and then he was also the high priest, okay, for 9 years. Okay, so from 160 to 143 BCE, Jonathan, all right, Aphis, okay, of the Hasmonean family. Remember, these uh, men come from the family called the Hasmoneans. Okay, that's why it was known as the Hasmonean dynasty. So Jonathan became leader, and then eventually he would die. All right, and then Simon, all right, Thassi, okay, will become the leader, the high priest, all right, and what you call a euthnort, which is a ruler, okay, like a prince. Okay, so he became prince and the high priest, and after him, you will have his son John Hyrcanus. Okay, and at this point, you have the Hasmonean dynasty. They begin, they pretty much start the Hasmonean dynasty either between Simon Thassi or John Hyrcanus. Okay, so you'll go down eventually, and you will have Jake, will have rule, okay, in Judea, okay, for the next 100 years. All right, so you will have different rulers, and eventually civil war broke out between Jake, and Herod, would eventually, get the throne of the Hasmonean dynasty and begin the Herodian dynasty. Okay, which we'll go into that. And the video is going to go into these things, but just kind of wanted to give a briefing, okay, of that. All right, before we get started. So let's go straight to the video, and we'll let it rock, and we'll go from there. So yeah, it's gonna sum up quite a bit of history, So I'm gonna let it run, interject when need be, and Lord will, you're edified. And just real quick, all right, they're gonna use the name, Jesus and Yeshua, okay, which that the Messiah's name is YAHAWASHI, all right, and they use that ish word, okay, well, it's just speaking of, the southern kingdom, the Jews, Israelites of the southern kingdom, when it says ish, so just to throw that out there, for first time listeners or people that are new, okay, it's going to use those plantation Christian names, Jesus, okay, well, we know his name to be Yahawashi. He's a Hebrew Israelite, okay, and there's no such thing as ish people, okay, as the 12 tribes, okay, and we know during the time, all right, of the Greco-Roman Empire, it was only Benjamin, Judah, and Levi mainly in the land. Okay, you had a sprinkle of other tribes, but it was dominantly Benjamin, Levi, and Judah. Okay, which consists of the southern kingdom, and they went under, they was the term Jews. All right, the political term that they went by were Jews at the time. Okay, so let it play.
Stories passed down from the days of the Roman Empire tell of a child's birth in the far-flung imperial province of Judea, a land with a rich past and a culture all its own. It was a time around the years 6 or 4 BC, when two humble folk from the town of Nazareth in Galilee, the rural northern region of this Roman territory, made the trek south to Bethlehem to be counted in the imperial census decreed by the Emperor Augustus, ruling all the way from Italy. On the long journey, this weary couple, the wife Mariam and husband Yosef, had welcomed the birth of their child, a boy they named Yeshua, known for the centuries to come as the child of Mary and Joseph, called Jesus of Nazareth. The world into which the Son of Mary was born was loomed over by the shadow of great Mediterranean empires, under which their people, the Jews, had labored since the days of Alexander the Great. And the tale of Jesus' homeland in these fateful years, how the Roman Empire had won Judea, and how King Herod had risen to the throne to rule the Jewish people, is a remarkable one. Since the days when the army of the Maccabees, led by Judas Maccabeus and his successors, had cast off the domination of the Greek kings of Syria and gained their independence, the Hasmonean dynasty from the family of Judas reigned over Judea as its kings. And as it had in the days of the Maccabees, it was violent strife in the capital of Jerusalem that first invited the ambitions of Rome to Judea's doorstep in the middle of the 60s BC. The late king Alexander Jannaeus had left behind two sons, the elder named Hyrcanus and the younger named Aristobulus. It was Hyrcanus who was chosen to ascend the throne, but the rivalry of Aristobulus and the faction of the Jews behind him soon broke the peace of the kingdom and began a civil war between the brothers. When each of their loyal armies failed to settle the dispute, an opportunity to win the support of a mighty ally presented itself. As the Roman Empire grew into its role as the superpower of the Mediterranean world and intervened with more and more authority in the affairs of the eastern kingdoms of Greece and Syria, the Hasmonean kingdom had recognized the need for a healthy alliance with Rome. And it was that old alliance that both brothers now tried to work to their advantage. A Roman army under the command of Pompey the Great, the most famous and celebrated soldier of the age, was waging war against the renegade King Mithridates in a wide-ranging campaign that would ultimately redraw the borders of the eastern Mediterranean from Anatolia and Armenia to Syria and Judea itself. During Pompey's sweep through these lands, Hyrcanus and Aristobulus both appealed for his support to secure the backing of Rome behind their claims. They each began lavishing bribes on Pompey's subordinates.
And we had to remember, all right, that during the time in the book of Maccabees, okay, that Jake, all right, would reach out and make an alliance, with the Romans, okay. And at this time, Rome, was going from a republic to a empire, okay. Because after Pompey, the era of Pompey and Caesar, okay, you would begin the empire, the Roman Empire under Augustus, okay. And let's see. So let's get this real quick, because Jake had ties with Rome, during the Greek Empire. In Rome, you have to remember Rome pretty much absorbed, the Greeks, okay, the Seleucid Empire, because the Ptolemy Empire was pretty much subordinate to Rome. But you had the Seleucid Empire, where you get Antiochus, and they, would try to buck, okay, against Rome authority. and eventually they was put down, and Rome absorbed, all right, the territory of the Seleucid Empire into the Roman Empire. Okay, but during the time of the back and forth between the Greeks, all right, and the Maccabees, Jake had reached out to make an alliance, with the Romans, and you get that in, let's get it real quick. First Maccabees, all right, 8. And the Rome went through 3 different nationalities ruling it, because you had Japhet, those were the original Romans, mainly when you had the kingdom of Rome, when Rome was ruled by kings. Okay, then it began to transition under Esau, going into the Republic, going into the Empire phase, all right, and then transitioning, after the Flavian dynasty, okay, into Jake transitioning into power during the time of the 5 good emperors, so Rome was ruled by 3 different nationalities, so you had all right, so this is uh First Maccabees 1:19. It says, they went therefore to Rome, which was a very great journey, and came into the Senate, where they spake and said, Judas Maccabees with his brethren and the people of the Jews have sent us unto you to make a confederacy and peace with you, and that you might be registered, all right, that we might be registered your confederates and friends, so that the matter, all right, so that matter please the Romans well. And this is a copy of the epistle which the Senate wrote back again, all right, so this is the time during the Roman Republic, in a table of brass, and said it to Jerusalem, that there they might have by them a memorial of peace and confederacy. Good success be to those by sea and by land forever. The sword also an enemy be far from them. If there come first any war upon the Romans or any of their confederates throughout all their dominion, the people of the Jews shall help them as the time shall be appointed with all their heart. Neither shall they give anything unto them that make war upon them, or aid them with victuals, weapons, money, or ships, as it has seemed good unto the Romans. They shall keep their covenant without taking any things therefore. So it's like, look, they pretty much coming into a treaty or a pact, okay, with Rome. All right, this was during the time of Judas. Okay, so Jake was having dealings with Rome, before Rome was an empire. Okay, and the Greeks still had, authority, all right, in certain regions, mainly in Asia Minor. Okay, and it says, so he like, look, if we call upon y'all when we need y'all to go, to war, at the appointed time, look, we need that. And whoever we're going to war against, you're not to supply them with anything, food, weapons, money, ships, or anything. Okay? Pretty much my enemy is your enemy. Your enemy is my enemy. That was a pact that they had made. It says, in the same manner also, if war come first upon the nation of the Jews, and the Romans shall help them with all their heart, according as the time shall be appointed unto them, neither shall victuals be given to that take part against thee, or weapons, or money, or ships, as it has seemed good to the Romans, but they shall keep their covenants, and without deceit. According to these articles, did the Romans make a covenant with the people of the Jews. Okay, so they had dealings, with the Romans, even before it was an empire. So now you get down to this time when you have Pompey, Julius Caesar, okay, pretty much, the 2 big dogs of the Roman Republic, okay, and they started to intervene in the affairs of the Hasmonean, Civil War. So you have both, these brothers, all right, these Jakes, jockeying for power, and they petitioning, to Pompey, who was, pretty much a war hero at this time, all right, a famous Roman general. and they trying to get his bagging, to secure their claim to the Hasmonean throne. All right, so Pompey is going to get involved. Okay, and this is pretty much going to be the end. All right, of the Hasmonean dynasty. This is going to trigger, what's going to be the end of the Hasmonean dynasty. All right, so let's go back to here
until the general himself came down to Syria and set to arbitrating the matter himself. Hearing the case posed by each brother, he put off the decision as to whose claim to support, which angered the insurgent Aristobulus, who feared that Pompey's judgment would side against him and doom his hopes for the kingdom. Aristobulus returned swiftly to Judea, and Pompey followed, where a tense diplomatic standoff ensued. Aristobulus invited Pompey to the capital of Jerusalem itself, but then denied him entry and fled to the Holy Temple, the fortified stronghold of the city. Pompey's patience had fully run out, and he readied Rome's legions for battle against Aristobulus's faction, entering Jerusalem and trapping the occupied temple in a siege. Taking advantage of the Jews' prohibitions against war on the sacred day of the Sabbath, Pompey deployed his battering rams that day and broke through the wall of the temple, ending the resistance with death in the thousands, and the Holy of Holies was breached by Roman arms. But Pompey's mandate in the region had been to ensure stability and security for Rome's interests, and so he took care not to antagonize the people of Judea by desecrating and ransacking the temple, like Antiochus IV had done in the age of the Maccabees. Allying with the king Hyrcanus, he commanded the temple to be purified and returned to its people in short order. With the peace of Judea restored, Pompey's work was done, and he set about the rest of his resettlement of the East, annexing whole new provinces, reshaping and enlarging others, and forging new alliances with kings willing to work for Rome's advantage. Judea was left a free kingdom, but one heavily indebted and tightly bound to Rome's power.
So pretty much, you had Bulis, okay, the brother of John Hyrcanus II. So he, which is another example of terrible leadership, but he bucked up against Pompey. So Pompey, all right, put them legions on Aristobulus and his faction of men, okay, and they got slaughtered, and Pompey backed John Hyrcanus, okay, to be the king. But ultimately he became a puppet king to Rome, all right, because Pompey made Judea a province of Rome, okay, in the province of Syria. You see? So at this time, the Hasmonean dynasty, they still have what you call autonomy, which is some form of sovereignty, because he didn't destroy the temple. Matter of fact, he, calls for the temple to be repaired, purified, and let Jake continue on how they were doing under the authority of John Hyrcanus, which he was going to be under the authority of Rome. Okay, so at this time, the Hasmonean dynasty now, they become a client state under the Roman Empire, and what Pompey did, establishing order in Judea, that wasn't free, and now the throne of the Hasmonean dynasty was in debt to the Romans. Okay, which they made them tributary. All right, so just summing that up, but let's keep it going.
And Hyrcanus, while given the title and honors of high priest, was stripped of political power. Aristobulus and his family were brought back to Rome for display in the parade upon Pompey's triumphant return west, and kept under arrest when their purpose was served. And a new arrangement for local rule was established a few years later, as councils of Sanhedrin, comprised of Jewish leaders invested with special authority and dignity, were appointed to govern the districts of the land of Judea, under the watchful eyes of Rome.
All right, the Sanhedrin. All right, and this is where you get the scribes and the Pharisees. Okay, you know, there was particular elders and leaders, priests that were given authority, okay, over Judea by the Romans, and this is why they were so, loyal, okay, to Rome. All right, let's get this real quick. You see, this is why YAHAWASHI, was speaking how he was speaking to Jake, because he knew, okay, that Jake was nothing but puppets of Rome. Okay, matter of fact, let's get that real quick. St. John 8. And start at 43. All right, this is St. John 8 and 43. It says, "Why do you not understand my speech, even because you cannot hear my word?" Okay, he's addressing the leadership. All right, the Sanhedrin, as they would call it. Okay, it said, "Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it," man. And ultimately, he was speaking about Esau, man. Okay, because these niggas were nothing but puppets, okay, for eating Rome. All right, as you can read, the Sanhedrin, was birthed, under the Roman government. All right, the sect of the scribes and Pharisees, which those men descended, from, all right, the time of the Maccabees. Okay, so you go here to St. John. All right, I think that's the 11th chapter. Okay, now this is after YAHAWASHI raised Lazarus from the dead. Okay, and you had these wicked niggas, because their whole thing was to keep peace in Judea. Rome, that's why Rome was like, look, y'all can do, sacrifice or whatever y'all do, worship who y'all want to worship, but just keep the peace and keep the tributary coming. Just don't, just keep peace within Judea. All right, and keep the tribute coming. You see, that's what they was pretty much tasked to do. All right, so when you go here, this is St. John 11 and 47. "Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council," all right, that Sanhedrin, "and said, What do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation." Okay? So these puppet leaders was pretty much put in charge just to keep Jake in check. Okay? Keep Jake in order. You see? So YAHAWASHI, when he was teaching, the gospel, he's teaching about another kingdom. He's doing miracles. The chief priests and Pharisees like, oh no. Because the chiefs and Pharisees, they had a good thing going, man. They was straight. Especially Caiaphas. Okay. You read about, this man living in palaces, lush, plushed out estates. Okay. But their whole order of the Sanhedrin, was pretty much set up by the Romans, all right, to govern Jake. So let's go back here and play it again too, so we can hear it. We'll look up the Sanhedrin too on this way.
Purpose was served. And a new arrangement for local rule was established a few years later, as councils of Sanhedrin, comprised of Jewish leaders invested with special authority and dignity, were appointed to govern the districts of the land of Judea, under the watchful eyes of Rome. Within the former royal court of the Jewish people, tides had already begun to shift as a new player on the scene rose to prominence. Hyrcanus had a trusted advisor named Antipater, a man from the land of Edom to the south of Judea, who shrewdly realized the crucial importance of being friends with the Roman power brokers. And so Antipater the Idumean became an especially loyal ally to Rome within Judea, and for his indispensable role and political talent, gained more and more influence in the eyes of the Jewish and Roman regimes alike. In 49 BC, civil war in Rome broke out between the aging military hero Pompey and his relentless and equally matched rival, Julius Caesar. Watching carefully from Judea, Antipater first sided with his old acquaintance Pompey, but upon Pompey's defeat and death, he wasted no time in throwing his support to Caesar, and gained unparalleled favor by aiding Caesar during his battles in Egypt. As a reward for this help, when Caesar took power, Antipater was granted Roman citizenship and named as the official procurator of Judea, protecting and administering the land on behalf of Rome as their direct client. Antipater's ascent gave him nearly the powers of a king, and he used his office to perform public works, like rebuilding the walls of the Temple Mount, long ago damaged by Pompey's occupation. And he paved the way for dynastic power by appointing his two sons as governors of Galilee and Jerusalem, his son Phasael over Galilee, and his son Herod, who would be the true successor of his father, over the capital of Jerusalem.
So now we're seeing the transition from the Hasmonean dynasty, which rejects, to the Herodian dynasty, which were Edomites. Okay, so with Julius Caesar, won the civil war between him and Pompey and Rome, and Antipater, he first sided with Pompey, but then switched to Julius, and aided Julius in battle, and Julius awarded him, pretty much the province of Judea. So now, as he's the procurator of Judea, now we're going to see, the switch over, all right, from Jake ruling in Judea, all right, to Esau Edom, all right, and Antipater, which is the father of Herod, which they're going to get into, and he's going to be the progenitor of the Herodian dynasty, which we'll get into that lineage a little bit as well.
One year after Caesar's assassination in Rome in 44 BC, death came for Antipater, who was poisoned on the orders of an Arab king from Nabatea to the east. What followed the dual collapse of Caesar in Rome and Antipater in Judea was the rise of a new contender for power, Antigonus, the son of the now dead Aristobulus, who had vied against Hyrcanus for the Judean throne. Antigonus had escaped Rome and returned to his homeland, and now won the support of the Parthian Empire, Rome's adversaries in the old lands of Persia, and many of the Jewish people supported his cause, who saw in Antigonus the hopes of a return to Hasmonean rule free from the domineering Romans. When the aging high priest Hyrcanus and Antipater's son Phasael made a diplomatic journey to Parthia, they were captured and handed over to Antigonus. Phasael died under arrest, and Hyrcanus returned home with his ears cut off, a cruel mutilation that by Jewish law barred him forever from the priesthood. With the support of Parthia, Antigonus was hailed as the new king of Judea. And Antipater's second son, Herod, fled to Rome, fully grasping that their backing was his only hope of safety and return. Judea was caught between the rival empires of Parthia and Rome, now subject to a king whose short reign would see the demise of the Hasmonean dynasty that had ruled for a century. As he had hoped, Herod's appeal for Roman support to return the region to their control fell upon willing ears. In the year 40 BC, Rome was under the rule of three, the triumvirate of Mark Antony, Caesar's trusted lieutenant, Octavian, Caesar's young adopted son, and Marcus Aemilius Lepidus. Herod's claims met with the support of Antony, who undertook to restore Herod to power as king of the Jewish people. He was named an allied king and trusted friend of the Roman people. In the years that followed, Herod made his return to Judea, fully armed, and laid siege to Antigonus in Jerusalem while securing the rest of the land for himself. District by district fell to his armies, swelled with Roman troops supplied by Mark Antony, until only Jerusalem was left. And when Jerusalem itself at last fell before Herod's assault, Antigonus was captured and sent away to the Syrian city of Antioch. There he was beheaded, or, as others say, scourged and crucified. And so died the last monarch of the Hasmonean bloodline.
So the last monarch, the Hasmonean dynasty, was pretty much scourged and crucified. Okay, so as you can see why, YAHAWASHI, what happened? They was calling him the king of the Jews. He was scourged and crucified. So YAHAWASHI's birth and life and his death, meant a lot. Okay, in every direction. For us, it was a sacrifice for sin. Okay, but to the Romans, it was just, removing a potential usurper of the throne. For the Herodian dynasty, pretty much, which was under the Romans. They just looked at that, was scourging another usurper, potential usurper. Okay, that's why Pilate asked him, "What are you, the king, of the Jews?" Okay, because in their mind they was thinking that YAHAWASHI was coming to get busy with the Roman Empire at that time. So it's just interesting, to see how these things, played out. All right, but let's play some more.
Herod had now to legitimate his newly won throne in the eyes of the Jewish people. A well-calculated marriage helped his cause, as the new king, though already married, exiled his wife and son in favor of another marriage to Mariamne, the granddaughter of the high priest and former king Hyrcanus, linking him with the bloodline of the Hasmoneans. And once in office, as the 30s BC continued on, Herod negotiated the tense power struggle that unfolded between his close ally Antony, who ended his life in defeat with the Egyptian queen Cleopatra, and the ascendant Octavian, who would now rule Rome as the Emperor Augustus. Herod's impressive public works projects left his imprint upon the very landscape of Judea, beautifying the capital of Jerusalem and fortifying the land with grand fortresses, including the most famous of these, the stronghold at Masada, which in decades to come, in a time of revolt of the Jews against the Romans, would become a symbol of Jewish independence in the face of oppression. But Herod's reign was equally marked by tyranny and ruthlessness, in silencing rivals or dissenters to his rule and critics of his Roman overlords. and the funds for his extraordinary buildings were paid by the heavy taxation of his own people. His fear of the glory the Hasmonean family still enjoyed among the Jews led him to murder, year by year, its remaining members, including his own wife Mariamne, in the 8th year of their marriage. And so the tale returns to the fraught journey of Mary and Joseph, camped in Bethlehem during the last years of Herod's reign, compelled by a decree of the Roman emperor who still wielded ultimate control over the lives of the Jewish people. By now, sometime amid the years 6 or 4 BC, the man now known as Herod the Great had reigned over Judea for over 3 decades. And according to the tales told by the followers of the miraculous child born in the stables of Bethlehem, Herod's court in Jerusalem had been startled by the news brought by 3 wise men from the Persian East. These wise men were members of an old brotherhood of sages and soothsayers called the Magi, who had served the Persian king from ancient days. And these 3, as tradition tells, had seen a sign in the heavens that foretold the birth of a mighty ruler. "Where is the child that is born King of the Jews?" the Magi asked when they arrived at Herod's court. "For we have seen his star in the east and have come to honor him."
So just to clear that up, about those wise men, because the scriptures never say 3 wise men, that's, things inserted over time, over the scriptures, but they never say 3 wise men. Now, let's get this real quick. Okay. Now, you have to know Jake was scattered. Okay. Jake was scattered even at this time, which will show that. All right. But this is Matthew 2:1. It says, "Now when YAHAWASHI was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king," and this is Herod the Great. Okay. "Behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem." Okay. So it never said 3 wise men. All right. It just says wise men. Okay. It says they came from the east. Now, when you go here, all right, and you look up with those 3 wise men, or it's like those wise men, got me saying 3, but those wise men, all right. Now, let's go here. It says, according to the Bible, the wise men, or magi, and they never called them, magi, all right. It said wise men from the east. It said came from the east. It says they likely came from modern day Iran, Iraq, or Saudi Arabia. Okay. Now, when you go into the scriptures, go back into the scriptures. Okay. It never said 3, and it never called them magi. It just said wise men from the east. Okay. Now, when you go here, or matter of fact, let me get this as well. Let you know that with Jake too. All right. So when you go down here, all right. All right, knowledge. Yep, it says, all right, I'm gonna say the wise men. Keep saying magi. It said the wise men may have known of the Old Testament prophecies about the Messiah, including the words of Isaiah and Daniel. So this lets you know these were Jakes that was into the scriptures, man. Okay, because you had those of the circumcision. All right, they stuck to the customs and the beliefs. All right, they lived in other lands, and let's prove that. And Yahushua was born around the time, all right, of the Passover. Okay, in which that was one of those high holy days when, Jake would travel back to Jerusalem, but for them to be in tune with the birth of Yahawashi. All right, these are Jakes, man. Okay, now when you go here, because it said they could have came from Iran, Iraq, or Saudi Arabia. So when you go here to the book of Acts, okay, the book of Acts, the second chapter. All right, this is Acts 2 and starting at 1. Okay, and it says, and when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as a sound of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the house where they were sitting. All right, this apostles getting the Holy Spirit. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak, okay, with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Okay, and devout is someone that's devoted or dedicated. Okay, so they were still dedicated to that way. They were still in the scriptures. Okay, and how they knew of Yahawashi. Now, when this was noised about, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speaking his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, all these are not all these which speak Galileans? And how here, all right, and how here we, every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born, okay? And you go into the places they was born, what? The Parthians, okay? So let's get into some of these, all right? Say the Parthians, okay? So you go into Parthia, and these are all these lands are east of Judea. Okay, so you go into Parthians. Okay, in the Greek is Parthos. All right, and it says a district of Asia. All right, on the east by Irana, the south by Carmania Desert, the Carmanians. Okay, you read about in Second Ezra, which is Iran. Okay, so this is Jake was scattered heavily in their region. Okay, you got the Medes, which is in their region. They call the Mesopotamia, which is okay, Ecbaton. All right, you read about and Tobit. Okay, and you had Raul. Okay, pretty much Tobit's cousin, who Tobit's son Tobias, who married his daughter Sarah. He spoke about him being the word Ecbatana. You read the book of Tobit. Okay, so you had Jake and Ecbatana. All right, which that's in modern day Iran. Okay, so you read the rest of them, but there are regions in that area in the Mesopotamia. But just wanted to show that those wise men, okay, were Jakes, and he said they knew of Yahawashi through what? The scriptures, man. Okay, said probably in Isaiah, because you go to Isaiah 9. Okay, and this is why Herod was terrified, man. Okay, because he had Jake, of the Sanhedrin in his courts. Okay, that was breaking bread with him when he came to Yahawashi. Okay, this is Isaiah 9:6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, the rulership. Okay, because the king bears the responsibility of what? Government. Okay, of the realm. Okay, this is king talk. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty Power, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it, to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of the Lord, Yahawah of hosts, will perform it. Okay, and these are known prophecies by our forefathers, and they was looking for him, man. Okay, and then Herod is hearing, they're coming to see this king being born. Hey, he's terrified. You know, him and them niggas and the wicked niggas of the Sanhedrin. Okay. Now this is Numbers 19. Okay, and matter of fact, start 17. All right, and it says, and I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not now. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall arise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab and destroy all the children of Sheth. You know, and this is how they thought Yahawashi was coming. Okay, it says, and Edom shall be a possession, Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Okay, hey, was it conquer, man? You know, out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth in the city. Okay, so you gotta think that they talking about this king and then the Sanhedrin, them the priests, you know, them chief priests and Pharisees is breaking it down to Herod, and this what makes, you know, Herod spaz out. Okay, it says, and when he looked upon Amalek, all right, and anticipated the Idumeans, so they know they Edomites. Amalek is of Idumea. Okay, so they you know, so they shook. It says, and when he looked on Amalek, he took up this parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. Okay, and there's plenty more precepts going into that, but that's, you know, the energy they thought Yahawashi was coming with. This king that was to be born, they thought he was coming to fulfill that at that time, you know, but he was coming to be that sacrifice, man. Okay, so matter of fact, real quick, because what did John say? John the Baptist, all right, the best man, you know. Yeah, I'll copy this real quick. Let me go back to this. All right, so you go here. All right, so this is St. John 1:29. It said, the next day John see Yahawashi coming unto him, and said, behold, the Lamb of the Most High, which taketh away the sin of the world. All right, which is the world of Israel, the cosmos of Israel. All right, beginning with the elect. Okay, so that's what he was coming to do, to be that sacrifice, that lamb. You know, but they thought he was coming, you know, as a conqueror. Okay, this is why you're going to see the reaction. Okay, which all this fulfills prophecy. Let me pull this up real quick. Let me play this.
The fearful mind of Herod, like so many tyrants of mythic tales, dreaded the appearance of a rival foretold by signs and wonders. An expectation among the Jews who chafed under the power of Rome and Herod awaited a Savior appointed by the one God to deliver his people to freedom, a heroic Messiah in the mold of Judas Maccabeus. As tradition tells, Herod learned of the prophesied birth in Bethlehem, and when the three magi had departed, he drew up a dreadful plan to snuff out the new life of this alleged Messiah. Marshalling his troops, he sent them on an evil mission: the murder of all the children of Bethlehem younger than 2 years old, a massacre remembered in legend as the slaughter of the innocents, engineered to kill the heavenly child, whoever he may be, with a sweeping act of cruelty. On that gruesome day, the air was filled with the wails of fathers and mothers, their children snatched away from their arms and put to the sword. But the one newborn whose death Herod had demanded escaped that fate, His parents forewarned of the king's vengeance by a visiting angel of the Lord. Heeding that warning, the family fled south and west into the Roman province of Egypt, beyond the reach of Herod's domain, where they stayed in hiding until news arrived of the tyrant's death. In the end, Herod would meet with a famously slow and excruciating death. Racked by disease and threatened by conspiracies real or imagined, until his life at last gave out. His will stipulated that the kingdom be divided among his 3 sons, Archelaus, Antipas, and Philip, a request approved by the Roman Emperor Augustus, the real arbiter of power in Judea. Archelaus would rule for less than a decade in succession of his father before Augustus called for his removal, and Rome began to impose its own rule without the need of a puppet king. Antipas remained as a local official long enough to see the imperial reigns of Tiberius and Caligula in Rome. And at home in Judea, he witnessed the career in the late 20s or early 30s AD of the traveling rabbi, Jesus of Nazareth, now fully grown. Jesus' execution in Jerusalem was ordered by the Roman prefect in charge, named Pontius Pilate, at the request of the local Sanhedrin, who still held nominal control. Rebellions against Rome's rule would send the province of Judea into convulsions for generations to come, until the sacred temple was destroyed and pillaged by Roman legions in the year 70 AD, and after another bloody revolt against Rome, the Jews themselves were expelled from Jerusalem in the year 135, accelerating the Jewish diaspora around the world. The land was renamed as the province of Syria Palestina, and a new Roman city called Aelia Capitolina was built on Jerusalem's ruins, erasing any official memory of the ancient kingdom of Judea. The history of Judea and its people on the eastern shores of the Mediterranean Sea is tightly bound with the course of the Roman Empire, but no less is the history of Rome bound with events in the distant land of Judea. The life and death of Jesus of Nazareth would spawn a new sect within the Jewish faith.
Yeah, so it pretty much the gist, you know what I'm saying? Pretty informative documentary. Like I say, it summed a lot of history up, bridging a lot of gaps, filling in some blanks. And it was just prophecy fulfilled, even Herod, slaughtering those children in the attempt to prevent, a threat to his throne. Okay. But he had no idea, that, hey, the threat, all right, was not neutralized. Okay. Yahawashi is alive and well. All right. And the church, the true church of Yahawashi, is alive and well to this day. Okay. And Yahawashi is coming back. It's like El Kazakh channel. All right. Yahawashi is coming back. And it's going to be a problem for New Rome, which you would get that. Okay. As you go here to Jeremiah 31:15, it said, "Thus said the Lord, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rahab, weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children because they were not." And those Romans did that, man. What they call the slaughter of the innocent. Okay. And all this going to be paid back, man. All that blood that Esau Edom has shed is going to be avenged, in the times to come. And that's why you have here. Let's go here. All right. Because you go to Isaiah 47. Get a few before we close out. Isaiah 47:1, it says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne for you, O daughter of Chaldeans, where thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate," man. Okay. And America is the new Rome. Okay. Now NATO, America, EU, is the new Roman Empire. Okay. They're conglomerate, you know what I'm saying, of America, NATO, and EU. All right, but America encapsulate the city of Rome, you know, which was the source of the decadence of the planet Earth at the time. Just like America is the source of decadence of the planet Earth now. Okay, and it's gonna be visited. And it says, take the millstones and grind meal, uncover the locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thighs, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yeah, thy shame shall be seen. And this is what the prophets are doing. Okay, uncovering this place, man, showing the earth the shame, okay, of this Edomite empire, man, especially here in America, man. Okay, and then this is happening right before YAHAWASHI invades. And that's why it says here, thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yeah, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. Okay, this time YAHAWASHI not going to meet thee, okay, as a lamb. He's coming back as that angelic power. Okay, all power has been given to him by the Father. And this is how he's coming back to New Rome. Okay, and this is their redemption, you know, that our forefathers and foremothers thought was coming back then. You know, they thought he was going to take down, you know, the ancient pagan Roman Empire and set up the kingdom in that time. Okay, but it is this time in which we're going to be redeemed. Verse 4 is for our Redeemer, the Lord Yahweh Bashim al Shab hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. All right, and he is coming to be the hero that they thought was coming, you know, over 2,000 years ago. Okay, but he's coming to fulfill that today. You see, so it played out perfectly, man. You know, we're in a good time, you know, in prophecy, man. You know, as it says, many, you know, kings, you know, have longed, you know, to see this day. You know, they wanted to see Yahawashi come. Okay, but then now we're in a time where we're coming to see Yahawashi. He's going to conquer. Okay, this is Luke 10:23. It says, and he turned unto his disciples and said privately, blessed are the eyes which see the things that ye see. You know, because they seen the coming of Yahawashi. You know, but that was phase one. You know, him being their sacrifice. All right, now we in phase two. All right, the conquering and the deliverance. Okay, for I tell you that many prophets and kings have desired to see those things which you see and have not seen them, and to hear those things which you hear and have not heard them. Okay, but now we see and hear, all right, everything full circle, man, and we await the return, okay, of the Yahawashi, the conqueror, man. Okay, and he's coming to get active, you know, with you devils, man. Okay, you this new Edom wrong that dominates the earth. Okay, as Isaiah 63:1 says, who is that coming from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save, man. And this is Yahawashi. Okay, he's coming directly to you, Edomites, man. Okay, the superpowers of the earth. Okay, it said, wherefore art thou red and thine apparel? And then it says he's mighty to save. Save who? The elect, you know, because, you know, Jake was expecting, you know, him to physically deliver them from their captivity. Okay, this time he's coming mighty to save, man, with deliverance. Okay, we're doing the last, we're finishing up the teaching, you know, the men that he's raised up in his time, we're finishing up the teaching. Yahawashi not coming back to teach and have sermons. Okay, he's coming to wage war. It said, wherefore art thou red and thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me, man. Hey, because this society has become completely anti-Messiah, outside of the hopeful elect. You know, and Yahawashi is coming to put down this rebellion, man. And he's going to trample, as it says, for I will tread them in my anger and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain my raiment. This is figurative, man. Okay? It's a figurative of a slaughter. All right? He's not going to have blood on him. Okay? And he's just going to be symbolic of a slaughter. Everyone under that chariot going to be trampled through that fire, man. Okay? For the day of vengeance, all right, is in my heart, and the year of my redeem is come. Okay? So this is that year, all right, that we've all waited for over the ages, man. YAHAWASHI to come, that king promised to come and conquer once and for all, man. Okay? So there was a point, as I thought that would be interesting to go into that, kind of fill in some gaps with their history. So Lord will you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified till next time I say Shalom, Kwam Yashala, Abab soon, Shalom.